Ducks fans, are you ready? You are listening to the Ducks and Pucks podcast. This is the #1 home for Anaheim Ducks talk and analysis. Here we go.
Welcome to the show. This is your host, Mike Walters, along with my co-host, Eddie Richard. And we have a special guest this week on our show. We have Nick Fleehart from Beer League Talk. He's going to be with us for the entire show. We're going to talk about, obviously, beer and hockey, of course. And we're going to talk about the Pacific Division. We're going to talk about the Ducks, New Jersey, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So while we get this going, we'll introduce Nick. Welcome to the show, and tell everybody a little bit about your show and what you do.
Well, first, thanks for having me on. It's an honor to be on with you guys. The show, Beer League Talk, I mean, it's just a show. It's a hockey show. It's mostly, instead of being based on the pro game like your podcast, ours is more based on guys that think that they're pros and think scouts are still scouting them in the stands, and that's the Beer League Hockey. That's we talk a lot about that.
Yeah, I noticed that. I was listening to your last show, and I was really laughing, Nick, because it sounds like your location changes every time with the show. It sounds like it's either in the closet somewhere or the basement or somewhere. What's going on with that?
Yeah, it's weird. Like, I work full time in the adult hockey industry, so like we run hockey leagues and we run like tournaments all over North America, even in Europe, and then we have a bunch of other stuff that we do. And one of them is that we own a bar here in Calgary, Alberta, that's above a rink, and so. When we first started the podcast, they let us use the little liquor room, and then they kicked us out of there. And then we were in our office, but then it was just way too loud because it's above a gym, and so you could always hear the basketball bouncing. And they said, sorry, there's nowhere else. So we're like, okay, we'll go to our friend's basement. And so that's where we're at now. And so next week we could be on the street somewhere. I don't know, but anywhere that I can hook up a microphone, I'm happy to record.
Oh my God, that's hilarious, and that's pretty much how Eddie and I do it. I usually record out of some odd room in my house. Eddie does it at his too, so we're in the same boat. Maybe not as many exotic places that you've had but that's pretty hilarious. But you and Eddie have something in common. Eddie plays in beer league hockey. He actually scored the winning goal in his championship this week. So congrats, Eddie!
Congratulations!
Oh, thank you.
Did you pull out some celly? Was there like anything you had planned for scoring it, or was it just you just scored and did the fist pump and moved on like you'd done it before?
No, I just I turned around and I skated right back into the boards, hit the glass as momentum drove me, because it was beer league roller hockey, and it was just, and it's we have a goalie that's been playing for many years. He just turned 70 years old. And he announced that it's going to be his last season at the rink. He's older than he's one of the oldest players that's been playing at that rink. And his age as a goaltender, it's a semi-outdoor rink, so it's still really hot in the summer. So him doing that was just like, man, that whole game too. I was playing against my B team, because I sub on this team frequently, and a lot of the guys are my friends, and I was getting so many opportunities. I was on my game with puck movement and speed, but the goalie just had my number. Like it seemed like every time I shot the puck, it was a magnet hit the goalie. So that first 5 minutes in overtime, I just stripped the puck when he tried to cover it, and I just closed my eyes and pretty much shot. And when I opened it, it was in the back of the net. And I just turned around and slammed into the glass and had my teammate hug me after that. So,
and it's even in an OT game, like you can't ask for anything better, for sure.
Yeah.
Congratulations on winning a championship. I'm still kind of chasing my first league championship, and I've been playing I started playing when I was 30 in Oklahoma, and now I'm 36. So I've been chasing it for 6 years, and still I always think we have the team to do it, and then we blow it in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's fun, and I love it. I mean, over here at the rink, they give us beer mugs. That's pretty cool. But I mean, just I don't really care about winning. At times I do, but it meant more to me knowing that my goalie, who is 70 and who's played, I want to say 2, 3, 4 times I played, he can actually get that championship for his last few seasons. So that was pretty good for me.
Well, yeah, you sent him out on a good note, and that's all that matters.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and speaking of that, I know Eddie and I are both we're kind of laughing too about the whole beer thing because what we did in the past for the Ducks, we each playoff we would drink different beer when they would win. This was a kind of a thing that we would do, Nick. So like one year it was Bud Light Lime. Another year it was Bud Ice. I can't remember. It kept changing. I think I went to Corona, which I'm actually having a Corona right now, and that's we kept going with it. It didn't really work for us. After 2007, obviously the Ducks really haven't done so great in the playoffs, but that was kind of a thing that we were doing, Nick. Is we every time that they would win, we in the playoffs we'd have a beer.
Well, you know what? I mean, you can talk about losing in the playoffs. I mean, as a Flames fan, we don't make the playoffs that often, so I would be happy just to talk about losing in the playoffs. But
Yeah, we didn't want to bring it up, but we know that the Ducks have kind of owned the Flames, at least at Honda Center. But you guys did break the streak recently, so at least there is something
yeah.
there to look forward to. We can't say that anymore.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, for crying out loud, it was what 20 years. Like I've only been a hockey fan for a number of years. Like I married a Canadian, and she kind of forced me into the game, and I think it's pretty much it was the whole time I've been a Flames fan. They hadn't won in Anaheim, so we were pretty jacked when we pulled it off. But then, I mean, then didn't you guys put us out of the playoffs a couple years ago? And then you put Edmonton out of the playoffs. What 2 seasons ago, which we were pretty stoked that someone beat Edmonton because I think anybody in the league can agree Edmonton is probably the worst when it comes to teams to be a fan of. So we like it when they don't do well.
Yeah, I mean, and I know you guys, you got to have some dislike for us because we have Kessler and Biex on the team, and I know you don't like Vancouver.
Listen, I'll tell you what. Like, okay, and because I'm not a Ducks fan, but
Right.
can you just imagine like the team? And you have to know like teams hate the Ducks because you employ Bieksa, Kessler, and Perry. Those guys are a bunch of shitheads. But you think about it, like I can rail on it. Like teams hate Matthew Kachuk,
Right.
right? Because that's the way he plays. So it's one of those things where like you love them because they're on your team, but if they were on another team, you would hate them. And so like it's always fun when I see like the fans going back and forth, and like Ducks fans will be upset because someone gooned it up on them, and the comeback is always like, "Come on, like you have Perry, BX, and Kessler, like you can't talk about gooning it up on anyone." And then for me, it's just like I love watching like Kessler, like what was it in the playoffs when he just like fell on the puck and just sat on it for a while. Like
Yes.
that was the greatest thing ever. Everyone hated it. I just thought it was hilarious.
Oh yeah, one of our writers posted a GIF of that and it got a ton of retweets and everything. That was hilarious. But yeah, you're right. I mean, a lot of people dislike Kessler and Perry and Bieksa, which honestly, there's been a mixed kind of bag amongst the fans. Some of the fans are glad that Bieksa's gone because he has a lot of turnovers, and his contract was 4 million. So he's out of the way. So now you only have Kessler and Perry to hate on our team.
Yeah, and hey, and you know what? Like it's funny. Like Bieksa, like you talk about the turnovers. Like what was it? The first year the Flames made the playoffs there. Like he's pretty much the reason the Flames moved to the second round because he was chirping about Michael Ferland being irrelevant, and then all Michael Ferland did was live in the guy's head all series. And like I can't count the number of turnovers that was made because Bieksa was messing with Michael Ferland. So yeah, Bieksa is just kind of a piece of trash. It's just, I don't know what else. Like I don't want to be too hard on him because actually outside of the game, like the stuff that I've seen him do, like just clips on working with people, like he seems like a pretty good dude. But on the ice, it's just like, man, what a piece of trash. Get out of there.
Well, the one thing people do like is the Superman punch. You can't deny those.
No, for sure, can't deny that. And then I can't. Was it Kessler or Bieksa that was doing like between the two Zambonis, like the between the ferns?
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Yes. Yes. Well, so speaking of the Pacific Division, last season, the Knights won the division. The Ducks eked it out, came in second against San Jose, and yeah, we got swept. San Jose was third, the Kings were fourth. You guys came in fifth, and you weren't that far out, about 10 points out. And then you had your other favorite teams, the Oilers and Canucks, and then Coyotes. What do you think about the Pacific Division? Some of the moves that were made. Eddie and I were talking about this. We're not too sold on the Ducks and how they're going to do. What do you think about the Flames or any of the teams in the Pacific Division?
We do another podcast like through the Beer League Talk umbrella called Postin' Out.
Okay.
TANDOU2, and it's a pro podcast instead of beer league. And it was something that was just started, but I was talking about this, like we talked about who is going to win the Super Bowl, Stanley Cup next year, and my pick was the Flames. And yes, a little homerish, but here's the reason why. This year, the Washington Capitals won the Stanley Cup. Didn't have a pick in the draft the previous year until the fourth round. This year, the Flames didn't have a pick until the fourth round, so I'm saying that just equates into a Stanley Cup champion.
Not James Neal, no.
Well, I mean, he is the real deal. Let's talk about this. I mean, let's be more realistic. Talk about the Pacific Division. Las Vegas kind of took the world by storm, or the hockey world by storm, anyway. Can they repeat that? I don't think so. I mean, they lost James Neal, who was one of their best scorers. And can they have the type of season that they had? Like, it seemed like there was a lot of things, like all the planets kind of lined up for them to do what they did. It was their first year. They had the tragedy in Vegas. They had that to kind of rally around the city and the players. Is that something that can carry on? I think no. I think they're still going to be good, but I don't think they're going to be runaway favorites to win the division by any means. Anaheim is Anaheim, right? Like, you made some moves. You're what you are. You guys are always contenders in the Pacific. The Sharks, kind of the same. Like, I wasn't a big fan of the Evander Kane signing. I think the guy's a head case, personally. I think he has a ton of tools. I just think he has problems putting them together. But maybe the structured environment of Jumbo Joe and those guys in San Jose can get it. The Oilers, they're still pieces of trash. They didn't do anything to improve. But they're just going to ride the coattails of Connor McDavid. He's going to put up his 110 points in meaningless games. And the thing is they rely on Connor McDavid and their goalie, and you saw what happened when their goalie had a bad year. Previous year, he was on fire. He got him to almost through the second round against you guys.
Yep.
And Connor McDavid and Draisaitl were just on fire in the playoffs. And then, this past year, Draisaitl kind of cooled off. Talbot had a off year, and look where they finished. They finished back where they finished for the rest of the last 10 years, right? Like, it's been a decade of being the worst hockey team in the NHL. So then the Vancouver Canucks, I mean, they're rebuilding. They lost Bean, so what are you gonna? I really don't see much of a change for the Flames. I mean, it's a homeristic view, but we were in the hunt up until middle of January, and then Mike Smith decided that in a meaningless last 5 seconds he would make some weird move to try to stop a puck that was 10 feet wide, and he hurt his groin, and then we went on a downhill swing. So, you add the Flames that having that success last year up until that point, and then adding James Neal, getting rid of Dougie Hamilton hurt. The guy was, he's the highest defensive goal scorer in the league last year, but we got a guy that has a ceiling that's probably higher than Dougie's, and then we got top six help in Elias Lindholm. So I think there's a lot of things that the Flames are doing that's good. I mean, I think they're good. They're still young. They're a young team, and if they can kind of find that fit on the top line, and their defense can take that step, they got really great defensemen, right? Something the Ducks know something about, right? I mean, look how many you guys had. You had to expose one, and all you did was say, okay, well, yeah, he's good, but we got four other guys that are just as good. So I think the Flames are up there. I think it's probably going to be, the Flames and the Ducks probably there at the top, and then second's probably going to be behind them is San Jose, and then Vegas will probably be fourth in the division. That's kind of the top four teams, I think, for the Pacific.
What do you think, Eddie, about the Pacific Division and who's going to finish where?
It's going to be close, as it usually is. I don't see Edmonton making that jump to make the playoffs, next season. They didn't really. I think that one season was kind of a fluke for them, and I'm probably going to get a lot of hate from Edmonton fans, but I don't agree with their management and what they do. They rush players and they expect results immediately. And I have a distaste for Edmonton because I feel like they ruin a lot of prospects. For example, Yakupov, he wasn't ready. He wasn't NHL ready to be in there, and they kind of just threw him in the fire. And now he's over there in the KHL now. I mean, he couldn't just find success. With Vegas, I think that first season exactly what Nick said. I 110% agree, and I would have said the same exact thing, so I'm not going to repeat it. They might make the playoffs, but I think the pressure might get to them, like we saw in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Like, they were riding that high for so long, but then reality finally caught up. You're a brand new team. You're with brand new guys. Yeah, you guys had that 82 game season, and then you guys had the playoffs. But I mean, reality took form. The Sharks, I can see. What my biggest question mark is for the Pacific is the LA Kings. I mean, yeah, they made a few moves. They got a little older, but a lot of their fans think Kovalchuk is gonna pan out and he's gonna be that player. But I don't really, I can't see that. You know, he played in the KHL and dominated, but the KHL isn't the NHL. It's gonna be a kind of a different jump for them.
Hey, do you think that Kovalchuk actually dominated in the KHL? Like, I looked at some stats and I remember having this argument with him. I mean, the guy's 35, 36 years old. Like,
Yeah.
he's not the Kovalchuk that he was prior to leaving here. Like, and what did I don't even remember what they gave him contract wise, but it was a lot of money. I mean, if you think about it, like Kovalchuk had, like, what was it, 50, like in 2015 he had 50 games played, he had 49 points. So I guess he's a point per game player. He had 78 points in 60 games and 63 in 53. So I guess that would kind of be a dominating the KHL, but they're also only playing 60 game seasons. They're playing on the big ice where he has more time to, react and make some moves. So is coming back to the small ice going to be a detriment? And is it going to be more physical because it has to be a faster game because it's smaller ice, it's more confined. He has way less time to make those decisions. So I think the LA Kings are a little bit out to lunch. I mean, they just did what they always do, right? Like, they don't have youth. They just have old players that used to be good. Jerome McGinley, Robin Regeer, they brought him in a few years ago. Like, it is what it is. And isn't Phaneuf in LA as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like,
and his contract.
He can't even turn left. So it's like, I mean, the thing is with the Kings, I usually forget about them because, and I have a lot of friends that are Kings fans. I forget about them because they don't ever have, like, really great regular seasons, and if they get in the playoffs, they eke in outside of that run they had where they were just the biggest team in the NHL, and all they did was run over everyone with their size and strength. But now it's just a way different game, right? It's all based on youth and speed and being able to move, and I just don't see that as a team that can move, that can run that transition game that these younger players are coming out and doing with their speed.
No, I agree. And with LA too, it seems like they just throw ridiculous contracts at people. Gabrick, they threw that contract at him because he had that one good season in the playoffs, but he had that injury problem. I think Kovalchuk's going to get a rude awakening, and it's not going to be the same NHL that he left. And he's playing in the Western Conference now because the last few teams he played for were, I think, Atlanta and New Jersey Eastern. Yeah, a little less physicality. So I think he's going to get a rude awakening, and he's the kind of player, in my opinion, for ditching his team before, that if the Kings don't make the playoffs 1 or 2 seasons or it's just not working out, he's just going to up and bolt to the KHL again. I mean, where he's used to, like you said, the bigger ice, less games, it's less physicality. And another factor, too, is he's getting paid without taxes over there in the KHL.
For
LA,
sure.
He's going to be paying about, 11% taxes now in LA? I mean...
Yeah, I mean, I guess they do have a history, and I don't like to lump all those type of players into the same mold, but those are, it seems like they get the reputation of being the type that when the going gets tough, they just get going, right? They head back over to Russia and do that, and maybe that's the case, but I mean, I understand maybe he is going to add some scoring. I don't know, but I can see why the Kings would want him. But I thought that any contract that was offered to him that was over a couple $1 million it was a mistake, and they did it. So we'll see if it pans out. I don't personally think it will.
Oh yeah, I totally agree. I remember reading some from sites, fan sites for the Ducks, and people were mentioning Kovalchuk's name, and I was jumping on there. One of the first ones, like, no, Kovalchuk, not Anaheim, period. Like, maybe a 1 year, $1 million, but anything above that, like, I just can't see him being that factor that that people think. But there's some, LA fans that think that, they signed Kovalchuk and here comes the Stanley Cup. It has worked that way. I mean, I'm sorry to bust their bubble. I'm not
Oh,
just being biased because I'm a Ducks fan. Because I always tell people, like, number one, I'm a hockey fan, and then number two, I'm a Ducks fan. So
yeah, for sure. And like one thing that I want to touch on with Vegas is for like Vegas fans, like how are they going to react if their team isn't on these magical runs, right? Because look at us as hockey fans. Like I'm a Flames fan. I've had heartbreak for ever since I became a Flames fan. You guys have had heartbreak. These guys, they come in. The only thing they know is making it to the Stanley Cup Finals. So what are the fans going to do if the Vegas Golden Knights hit a big lull, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's the biggest question mark too, right there. Everyone got that high, and Vegas came in there and gave that, or the Golden Knights came in there and gave Vegas what they needed at that time. After that tragic event, the city was like just like folding, but that hockey team helped, and I think that's something that can never be taken away from them, regardless of what happens in the future. I really just hope that Vegas proves everyone wrong and their fans over there, and really solidify themselves as hockey fans and a sports team, and not just to actually be known for more than gambling and drinking all day and partying, but no, a serious fan base over there, and especially with the Golden Knights, how they set the standard for teams and what they did to help that city heal. Because I don't think the city would have you know healed that fast, or got that much support and love if it wasn't for the Golden Knights and everything they did for the city. So I never want to say like, oh, I wish this city folds and ever. Like I'm always just 110%. I hope all the teams go. Like I hope they all have success, but I really hope because there's so many doubters and so many people being negative toward Las Vegas. I hope they prove everyone wrong and solidify themselves as one of those top fan bases over there.
Yeah, I agree with you, Eddie, on that. I mean, I think that's one thing that Vegas and Nick touched up upon it too, is that they won so fast, so quick in the first year. Of course, they had that shooting event that gave them momentum as well. I don't think they're going to be up there next season. I might even pick them not to make the playoffs or barely make it with all the changes and everything that went on. I don't know. I kind of go with Nick. I think Calgary's going to be back up in that mix. The Ducks, we're kind of pessimistic, I guess, a little bit, or at least I am. I don't know how Eddie feels. We had our GM last week came and talked about the team a little bit. He announced the new jersey, which we'll talk about that as well. We're giving one away too. That it's been on our social media we posted, and we're going to maybe probably give away a couple more versions of it because it's been so popular. Even though Ducks fans have weighed in all kinds of different ways on this jersey, which we'll talk about in a sec, but with the teams now, it seems like you have to have those four lines, and you've got to have speed, and that's what our GM talked about. But the Ducks' fourth line's been kind of just whoever we have left over, we put on there, and we hope it works. So I think we talk about the Ducks making the playoffs. I think they're going to be up there again. Eddie, you can chime in too on this if you want, but I just don't know. We keep rolling, three lines, and I think if that's going to be the case, it might be tough. I see San Jose still being up there, even though they got Kane, and I'm not too happy about his off ice stuff too, as you guys had mentioned, and the Flames have improved. The Kings, like you guys have talked about, go with these older type players and throw money. And I'm with you, Eddie. I didn't want the Ducks to get wrapped into that kind of stuff and throw too much money at a player that might leave and take off to Europe. So I'm glad the Ducks didn't do that. But it's going to be an interesting Pacific Division, I think. I don't think Vegas, like I said, will be up there, but I don't know how far the Ducks will be. I think they'll be in the top four, but then after that, I don't know. We might have some trouble in the playoffs.
No, yeah. Just like I told on previous shows before, it's not the fact that I want the Ducks to go and sign all those big names. Like I want them to make the big splashes and do everything. I just want our GM to have faith in the team and to attempt to do something to better our team. The signings, maybe one or two of them, bettered our top our bottom six or bottom pairing defensemen. But I mean, what I'm reading, like I said before, the Kings are trying to go after Pacioretty at the draft, and the Sharks are trying to do something, trying to get John Tavares, things like that. And our GM's like, oh, well, I'm just gonna give this bottom third defenseman a contract, and yeah, we got better. Even though we're slower, we got better. Like, no, come on, do something, attempt to do something. Like, stop, like, stop trying to shop at thrift stores for Versace or Louis Vuitton, stuff like that. You have to gamble on certain players and go for it. But it seems like, just like at the trade deadline, we got rid of Wagner, and for, we kind of downgraded from Wagner. It's like, well, come on, man. Like, do something. At least try to do something. Like, look, I tried to go this route, but unfortunately, it didn't work out. The player didn't want to sign, or it was too high of a price to pay, and I'm not going to give up assets. Cool, but I mean, I don't really see the Ducks getting that much better from last season. I have no doubt they'll make the playoffs at all. And as a Ducks fan, I'm optimistic that like every season, that we're going to win the cup, and I don't care if what standing you are. If I were a Coyotes fan or Sabres fan, I'd still have that same mentality. Like, oh, we're gonna win the cup this season. Because I mean, if you don't think that way, then what's the point of watching competitive hockey? But I mean, I don't know. I think the problem with the Ducks is the higher management not having faith, or willing to pull the trigger when he needs to.
Yeah, I mean that is an issue we've had, and at this jersey announcement at the summer thing that they were talking about, they talked about Kessler, who we know Nick loves and a lot of Canadian fans love, but they said that Kessler says that he's fine and that he's good to go and all this stuff, but then Murray also said, well, he's still up in the air. And then he also said that Eves is good to go, which is nothing new. We've kind of talked about this on some of the other shows. So when we look at the Pacific Division, Nick, one thing for the Ducks is if the Ducks don't have Kessler, we may have some issues. I mean, we did get Henrique signed for, several years, and he's going to be in there, but that may be something that, if Calgary's going to get up there in the mix and the Sharks are going to get up there in the mix, those teams might be ahead of the Ducks because we're not doing as well in the center position.
It just all depends on where Kessler is and if he's healthy. And I mean, they haven't really gave us a definite answer on what's going to go on from there. And if we lose Kessler, that is significant. Like, we're going to be hurting. We were hurting last season with the half-speed Kessler. And like I said before, I wish him all the best, and his health is number one. But if that's the case, I mean, Murray needs to get on that and figure it out right now if that's going to be, the case for next season. If he's going to sit out, or he's going to be half-speed, or he's going to start and then not finish. And we have to make something happen. We got to make a trade. We have to do something to help our team get better. If not, we're going to squeak in the playoffs, and we're going to be eliminated the first, second round. And that's, I mean, what's the point of doing that? If you're not willing to get our team better to qualify and to win the Stanley Cup, you might as well just start trading a bunch of players, get a bunch of draft picks, and then just tank so we can get a better draft pick instead of just barely squeaking the playoffs just to go out the first round.
Yeah, I mean, I agree 100% with you. And I mean, I think for Nick on your side, you guys are looking to try to have a strong season all the way through and then make the playoffs and have a strong run in the beginning, too. I mean, I know for you guys, it looked like you guys were going to be there last year. And then, like you said, the last month or two kind of, took a dump for you guys, especially when Smith went down.
Yeah, that's tough. But and the difference here between like the Flames and the Ducks is really aging cores, right? Because you guys are even down the middle, like you guys are Getzlaff on your first line, who's not getting any younger, still a good player, but he's getting up there in age in terms of a hockey player. And then you have Kessler on your second line, who's dealing with injuries and showing signs of age. And then you have Adam Henrique, who's probably late 20s, early 30s.
Right.
And so like when you start talking about like the difference between you guys want to make the playoffs and win the cup, and Flames fans, like, we just want to make it to the playoffs so we can have a chance. And it's because like we've dealt with, like, we've had the aging core, like we had Jerome McGinley, we had Ole Jokinen, we had Robin Regier, we had those guys that just they were aged out of the game, so we had to eventually make some moves. And there's, I don't know, 7 years now we've kind of been in that rebuild phase. So you're right, it's either, hey, are we going to do something to make our team better? And that's why you're seeing like the LA Kings, they have to do that because they're not in that, hey, let's rebuild and trade away all of our people for draft picks. They think there's a shot, so they're giving Kovalchuk whatever that ridiculous contract was that he got. So are you guys in between? I don't know. I don't follow the Ducks enough to know, like, are they on that cusp of, do we need to trade everyone away or do you still have a shot? But it sounds like you as a fan are saying, hey, we either need to, show some faith that this team can win a cup and make some moves to show that, or we need to go the other way. And I can tell you the other way is hard, but it's definitely way more exciting as a fan base when you know that your team has a plan to do that.
Yeah, I agree with. I think you're exactly right, though. As Eddie and I talked about, that's kind of where the Ducks are at right now. I mean, if for some reason Kessler can't go at all, which is kind of what Elliot Freeman had talked about maybe being an issue, then maybe they do have to go the other way. I mean, it's a serious issue. I think Eddie hits it on the head there. I mean, we went out and got these other players to fill some holes on the fourth line, and our third defensive pairing. The Ducks did get the Montour deal done. They got a bridge deal done for 2 years, just over $3.3 million. So that was, some good news. The Ducks have a good, solid top four. But I think the frustration we have on our side is that there's a lot of players out there and a lot of moves, like Eddie said, is it doesn't seem like, we don't even get them, but we don't go for them. And I think if for some reason Kessler can't play this season and may force Murray's hand, and we may have to change up some stuff because the aging core thing, like you talked about, is a concern. And any kind of cup window for the Ducks, it's been kind of going down. And I think Eddie, you'd agree with that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've said it before, and I'll say it again.
Yeah, this team, it's just tough. I don't know where the Ducks go from here. If they're going to be able to, we think they'll make the playoffs for sure. And then go from there. But I just don't know. As far as they're talking about mixing up the lines, Murray even talked about that. He talked about taking Corey Perry off the top line, which that's been a big concern for a lot of people in the Ducks fan base. They're not happy with his performance lately, and he's got his no movement clause and his contract and all that. So, the Ducks may have to throw in some of the younger guys. May see Troy Terry and Sam Steele, Eddie.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of throwing in younger guys to see what they can do. They're more hungry. They have something to prove. I mean, sometimes some of these veteran players that are more established might get complacent and just have one of those games where they feel like, oh, well, I'm just gonna go through the motions. It's just one of those days. But when you're a young rookie player, you can't have those days because if you go anything less than 110%, you're going back to you're going back to San Diego. You're going back to juniors. So when you're up there, you have something to prove. Like everyone is watching you, and all eyes are on you. Every little mistake you make, it's going to be documented. Like, oh, look at him. He wasn't breathing the right way, or he wasn't doing this right. Oh, look at his tape job. Oh man, he's a rookie. You can tell. It's like all eyes are on you. And the biggest thing is when you're a rookie and they give you that skate when you're by yourself. I mean, that's how it is your first year in playing as a rookie because everyone's on you. And I mean, when you score a goal, it's like, oh, good job, and then it gets forgotten. But if you make a mistake, your name is popped up for weeks. Like, oh, so and so did this. Oh, remember when so and so did this? Oh yeah, this rookie, blah blah blah. He's not good enough. And I mean, I think they have that added pressure, which makes them step up and elevate their game.
I agree 100%. I think that's what the Ducks are going to have to do. Come this season as far as the division, and see if the younger guys can step up. Nick, I don't know how that is for you guys in Calgary. Are you guys looking more towards the younger guys to come fill in the holes, or are you happy with what you guys have as far as your group?
Well, I mean, I think that it's basically what we have is young guys. Like when you think about it, you have Johnny Gaudreau and Monahan and Sam Bennett and Elias Lindholm and Noah Hannafin, TJ Brody. Like you're talking guys in their mid-20s. You have Giordano, who's 34, 35 years old. And maybe on the back end on the defense, there's some young guys definitely knocking on the door. I think a lot of when I kind of look at like the Flames fans message boards, they obviously want more youth down there in the fourth line because the youth brings the energy, right? And so, like, who do we have in our fourth line? We have Troy Brouwer, who has probably been one of Brad Treliving's biggest mistakes here in Calgary is signing him for a 4-year deal at $4 million, because he just hasn't brought anything worth $4 million since he's been here in Calgary. And so, yeah, I mean, we would love for young guys to kind of step up and force, us to make a decision on buying out Brouwer, or, and the thing is, last year, like, Gulitson had Brouwer on like the first or second power play, and the guy is basically where plays go to die. If the puck's on a stick, it's probably going back the other way in the next second, right? So, for as a Flames fan, like, I'm pretty happy with kind of the mix we have in the youth, and I'm pretty jacked with like the trade, with the Dougie trade to bring Hanifin and Lindholm over here. It's cool to see those guys. I mean, because when you think about it, yeah, you lost Dougie Hamilton, but you got 2 number 5 overall picks who are doing pretty good. I mean, Lindholm is a 45-point player, and his contract, everyone said he wanted way more than $5 million, and we just signed him for 6 years, $4.7 million. So, maybe not this year. It's not going to look like a steal, but it's going to be a steal in the next 2 years, I think.
Yeah, I agree what you're talking about the Flames. Even when the Ducks play the Flames, or when I see them, on some of their games, the way that they use their speed and everything, they've got a lot of run and gun games, and we've seen it with the Ducks and the Flames, the high scoring things. That's something that we're kind of looking at too. We had one of our fans asked about that. We had Michael Howard asked about, we have Carlisle, and is he going to adapt his coaching style or the style of play? And I think that's been a big issue with the Ducks is their style of play. Our GM has been, also been upset about the players standing around too much on the power play. He talked about at this event, last week and whatnot. And I think that's kind of a concern that we're looking at. The big thing, Eddie, is I don't know if Murray's comments are going to translate to Carlisle and his coaching style. I don't know if it's going to change, and I think a lot of people are concerned if it doesn't work out this next season. Where will Carlisle end up?
I really think if he doesn't work out this season, I think halfway this season he'll be gone. And I really personally think that he'll be gone regardless. No matter what Murray says to make us feel better about coaching and stuff like that, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. He's in that mentality. He's an old school veteran coach. He's not going to change up his game. I mean, we've seen it time after time. And I'm not the biggest fan of bringing people back after they've been let go. In my opinion, it's like going back to an ex-girlfriend or boyfriend. I mean, Obviously it was over for a reason. And when you bring back that same thing, you're going to have the same problems. And I just can't see Carlisle changing up his strategy, changing up his game, because when things come down to it, he's going to revert back to his old thing. I mean, just like when I was in the Army, we always train because they said when crap hits the fan, you're going to revert back to your training. And when crap hits the fan over there in Anaheim and they're not doing well, or they go down by a bunch in the game, he's going to revert back to his old ways of that way that hasn't been working in a while. I mean, I respect him and I love him a lot. He brought us a cup, and no one can take that away from him. But I personally think that we shouldn't have hired him in the first place. And I think a change is needed to boost Anaheim's offensive ability.
I mean, that is the rub. That's what some people are saying is, okay, let's go out and get better players, but if we're not going to go out and get better players, then it's the coach. So I think you're right. If something happens this season and they're unable to produce because of the scoring, and Carlisle's still the coach, I think he's definitely going to be on the hot seat. So it's a great question that we had from Michael Howard that he asked about, and I think it is a concern and something to watch, especially if Kessler's out as well, as we talked about. As far as the Ducks go, they've pretty much got everybody signed up. They still have Casse and Richie left, which those deals may not come till closer towards the season, Murray said. But looks like the Ducks are pretty set in what they have. So the only other option is to change the lineups a little bit. We talked about that in the last show, so we'll have to see. But as far as the Pacific Division goes, I really look at the Sharks being up there still. I think Vegas comes down a little bit. The Kings come down a little bit. I see, obviously Calgary being in the mix too. So it's going to be a fun season, I think, Nick. I look forward to it. I don't know about Edmonton, Vancouver, and I know the Coyotes have kind of done some things, but I don't see them being up there as much. But I think you're right. I think you're going to see your Flames most likely at least in the playoff mix towards the end of the season.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think, like I said, I'm a pretty big like 1 and 2. I think is probably going to be Anaheim, Calgary. Then I think San Jose probably is pretty close to that, and then Vegas, and then you have kind of the next tier of the Kings. Just kind of, and who knows? Maybe the Kings do what they're known for, and that's playing like crap for the first half of the season, and they get in on the last day of
So
the regular
annoying.
season to the playoffs. Like it blows my mind how that always happens. I think Edmonton's done anything to improve themselves and get better. And that's not because I hate Edmonton. That's just because they didn't do anything. I mean, what did they do? Absolutely nothing in the offseason. And then, the Coyotes are the Coyotes. Like, yeah, they made some moves, but I just don't think they're there. But hey, at least they made some moves to make their team better. And then Vancouver, they're just in a rebuilding stage. I mean, they lost their two biggest stars, and now they got to rely on young people with not much veteran leadership.
Yeah, I'm right there. I think we're all in pretty close agreement on what's going to happen, or at least what we think is going to happen next season. Now, if you didn't hear about it, the latest news for the Ducks was their new jersey, which had a lot of different opinions. We had a poll question. We had about 70% liked it or loved it, and then the other 30% thought it was okay or they didn't care for it. I had mixed feelings too. I don't know who to start with, but I guess Eddie, I'll go with you. And what did you think about the New Jersey?
I liked them. Um, I know like a lot of people were disappointed because they wanted, the old original jersey back, the whole, But how I saw it is the Ducks didn't just, take something from the past and not have any, thought process. They went with something, with the past, but they actually had that effort to create something different. I mean, I'm not trying to knock on the Coyotes because their old retro jersey is awesome, and I'm one of the fans of that one. It's a great jersey, but they just pretty much updated their jersey with Adidas logos and stuff. As the Ducks, they actually put some more effort in and combined a bunch of their old past jerseys into one. The only thing I didn't like about their new jersey was that silver right in the front of the jersey. That just throws me off a little bit, but overall, I mean, I like it, and I'm looking forward to receiving it when I get it. And like I joked around, Ducks and Pucks over here, Mike and Ducks and Pucks, they're offering fans a free jersey, so I might have to resign my position at Ducks and Pucks for a few weeks so I can be in the running for that as well. Just joking. I already have one ordered. You know what? Actually, I like it, and I think once I see it in person, I'm gonna like it even more. So I'm looking forward to that. And the only issue I had with it was just that silver in the front.
And Nick, what did you think? With the retro jersey for the Ducks and the Coyotes too.
Well, first off, like we do blogs over at Beer League Talk, and one of our guys that is real big, like he's just a jersey fanatic in general. And I'm gonna go over his opinion, and then I'll give you mine. But
Sure.
this is Jay, and Jay actually made a blog that says, "What are the Ducks thinking?" He thinks the jersey is an abomination, and his questions are, how many colors can one jersey have? He's counting at least 8 colors in this jersey, and then it looks like they just took every jersey and put them into like some kind of program and then mixed all the jerseys up and then spit out this thing. And I kind of agree with him. Like when you want to do a throwback, I think you should do a real throwback. I wish it was eggplant there on the front instead of black. That's kind of my own. The stripes look kind of weird on the jersey, and maybe that's just the way they have it posed. I would have to kind of hold judgment there. But I can agree with Jay when he says, "Hey, if you're going to do a real throwback, let's throw back to those eggplant purples because they're one of the best jerseys in NHL history." And but change is always good, right? I mean, you shouldn't just, like you said, just like with Carlisle, you shouldn't just go back and do the same things over and over again. You should try to move the game forward, and maybe this is their way of doing it. But I'm a big fan of the eggplant purple, so that's my opinion.
Yeah, and some of the fans agree with you. Some of the fans wanted it more of the white and the green. Some wanted it more of the purple and the greens. So some people were like, why they put in the black? So I think that was kind of a thing. I kind of like the black because I think it kind of makes a change up a little bit. I wasn't really a big fan of the shoulders too much for me. I didn't like seeing, this is supposed to be the silver jersey, and then you've got the gold Ducks logo on there. So I thought maybe they could have changed up the shoulder patches a little bit, whatnot. I mean, I already did order it anyways. I still like it. I like the throwback. I think it's cool. I think maybe there's a few little things that they could have changed up, and everybody's going to have their opinion, and that's how it came out at first. It was funny. It seemed like everybody was one way or another. People either really, really liked it or really didn't. And now that it's been announced, almost a week now, it seems like most people like it. They just may have changed a little couple minor things here or there. But we are doing a giveaway too. We're giving it away on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So if you go on there and check out all our accounts, there's posts on there to talk about it. And you know what? We're also giving away a $50 Cool Hockey gift card. All you have to do is go to podomatic.com/ducksandpucks. Check out our website and hit the follow button. If you're a follower, we're going to give away a gift card for that, and you can use that to buy the jersey as well. So you got about another week to do that. So some good stuff coming up. But before we started the show, Nick, you were telling me about some good things that you guys are going to be doing here, and you wanted to talk about those for a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, first, again, thanks for having me on here. I know this is a Ducks podcast, and I'm not exactly a Ducks fan, but I know we all love hockey. So thanks for giving me the opportunity to talk about this, because it is something that it's important to me, and I think it should be important to a lot of people, because it's using the game of hockey to make the world a better place. And sorry about this. Little kid's just eating, and so he likes food as much as I do. So. So I mean, what we do at Beer League Talk is we're just trying to just promote the sport of hockey in general, and I go out and I get to travel around and do a lot of tournaments in the beer league circuit. I mean, I'm going to Vancouver next weekend. 2 weekends after that, I'm going to Chicago, and then I'm in Columbus, and then I'm in Phoenix and LA, and so I get to play hockey in a lot of places. So I get to meet a lot of hockey players. And I was doing a charity tournament. I was covering it for Beer League Talk in March, and it was with the Boston Bruins organization. And they bring out 100 teams. 20 of them are Bruins alumni teams. The other 80 are military, police, firefighter teams, and they all raise money for their own charities. And they raise over $1 million on this one weekend of hockey, which is absolutely incredible. And it's called the Heroes Cup. But I met a group called Skate for the 22. And this is an organization. You can find them at skateforthe22.org. But it's an organization that is really was put together to bring awareness in suicide prevention in our military vets. And you guys are American, I'm American, and you guys know that the troops are what make America what it is. We wouldn't be able to do anything that we do as Americans, enjoy the freedom, without these guys that are giving up their lives sometimes, the ultimate sacrifice, so we can be free. And so, this group, they just saw that there was a need for something like this to support troops. The stats say that every day 22 military vets take their own lives, and they wanted to drastically reduce that number. And so what they did is they decided, hey, we all love hockey, so how can we use hockey to make a change? And that's what they're doing. What they're doing is they're raising money, they're raising funds, and they're getting these vets back into really a family, and that's the hockey family. And they're using that hockey family to spread this awareness about suicide prevention. And I think it's been great. I mean, I heard so many stories that brought me to tears about how hockey has saved their life, and just being on the ice has kind of helped them find a place to be. And so for me, when I started thinking about, well, Beer League Talk has, a small level of influence, and how can I use that influence to help this, I put together something called the Chellathon. And if you guys know what Chell is, it's the NHL game that EA Sports puts out. It's kind of a big deal for us hockey guys. Like, we love playing hockey on the ice. We don't score as many goals as we'd like, but we can score a hell of a lot of goals on video games. So what we decided to do really is we wanted to do something that would bring awareness to this group and help raise funds. And I can remember growing up, I always remember seeing like telethons on TV, like Jerry's Kids. They'd always raise money, and you don't see them anymore. And I'm like, well, how can we do like a telethon but for this? And I'm like, well, how about we just stream us playing NHL 19 for 48 hours and make it almost like a variety show, where hopefully we can get some guests in there. Hopefully we can get some podcasts going live while we're playing. And so we're doing that to raise money for Skate for the 22.
That's awesome. And for the people that don't know out there, Eddie is a veteran, so that's near and dear to his heart. So I mean, I know he's very excited to hear about this as well.
Yeah, it's awesome. If you guys don't know, this past Monday, I just lost my buddy and I at Peter Pan 8908. She was my battle in the army. We just lost another soldier to suicide, and this is, you know, all the years I've been in the army and out. This is the third soldier that I've known someone personally that was close that took their own life, and I mean. I think back when I was in the military and I lost a staff sergeant, and he was the nicest guy you can possibly know. And I mean, no one knew what was going to go on, but he took his own life. And whatever reasons they have, I have nothing but the utmost respect for them. But I mean, 22 soldiers, even one soldier taking their life is too many. And I really applaud and I thank anyone that's taking their time and to do anything. I mean, I don't even care if you post a Facebook status saying, "Hey, if you guys need to talk, let me know." I mean, and not just soldiers as well, just suicide prevention in general. I
Hmm.
mean, we all get to that point where I'm sure all of us went to that point where like, oh, I don't want to live anymore. But some people are more serious than others, and especially with soldiers, because I was a soldier. I hung out with a lot of Marines, sailors, all military branches. So that really holds a big place in my heart, and especially what happened this last Monday. And I'm sure my battle, a Varan horse, Ashley, she will really appreciate that because she was having a rough time. Her and I spoke, and she's a really tough woman, and she's probably more tougher than I am. But I can tell by her voice that it was hurting her that she wasn't there or she couldn't be there. And she's the biggest advocate. If you ever need anything, you can call me 24/7. She's the kind of person that if she doesn't even know you and you call her, she'll talk to you, just whatever you need. So I thank you, Nick, for that. You and whoever else is hosting, and like I told you, I'll do anything I can to help. Jump on and throw some jokes in, things like that. I won't play because I like to, I like to drink beer when I play. But every time, like the more beer I have when I play NHL, is like I'm getting beat by the pro or rookie computer. So I'll sit there and watch and judge. So I really thank you for that.
Well, like I told you off the air, there's no thanks needed. I think it's kind of our it's kind of our responsibility to kind of help out where we can in the world, and that's whether it's military, veterans, or anything. And so it's a pleasure, and I'm honored to be able to have the opportunity to do this kind of stuff. So if anyone wants to join, if anyone wants to join and donate, you can follow Beer League Talk, twitch.tv/Beer League Talk. Uh, and there's also a GoFundMe page if you'll check out like Beer League Talk on Twitter or on Facebook. We have links to the GoFundMe page, and all that money goes directly to Skate for the 22. It doesn't come to us. You can get a tax receipt on it if you're an American. It's tax deductible, so no reason not to get in, jump in, and even if you can't donate. And even if you can't be there during the live stream, you can always just hop on and share it so other people know about it.
That's great, Nick. And what we'll do is when we put out this podcast, obviously you have what you talked about here. We'll also put it in the article as well. I'll get the links from you, and we'll put them on there so everybody can go check it out and do everything on there. So, th-
Awesome.
thanks for coming on. I appreciate everything that you're doing. Glad that we could talk some hockey in the Pacific Division, the Ducks and the Flames. Best of luck to you guys, and we'll have for all our fans out there. We'll have another show probably in a week or two whenever some other news comes up.
Yeah, for sure. And just before we leave, I know you guys want to get out. We do these tournaments. I'm going to be in LA 1st of December. There are tournaments called draft tournaments, and pretty much you don't need a team. You just show up. Last year we did a Ducks theme where we had all the old school Ducks jerseys, and we make the teams by beer chugging contest, and then we play 5 games with our new team. So we'll be out there in December if you guys want to come out and play some hockey with us, and you can sign up for the tournament at drafttournament.com.
That's awesome. And again, we'll put more of that info too in the article, and then obviously, you'll tell me whenever, and we can retweet it, whatnot, and post stuff as well. So, again, thanks for coming on. I had fun talking with you, Nick, and we'll obviously be talking from here on out.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me on, guys, and go Flames. But I'll root for the Ducks too, just because you guys are so nice to talk to.
Thanks, Nick. All right, everybody.
And,
Okay, you got it. Thanks for coming on.
all right, you have a good one. Thank you.
All righty. And that was Nick Fleehart with Beer League Talk. Check him out on Twitter. We'll see you guys in about a week. We'll also be announcing some more giveaways coming up this summer. Let's go Ducks.